Hello, can you hear me out there? If you're here with us, please let us know where you are. This is live in Project Land. Today's episode is talking about product management in Project Land. So that's product management in Project Land. Say that 10 times real fast. And today's guest is Jammal Dorsey. I am so excited, you guys, to have Jammal here on the show because we've been talking for quite some time now, and we finally were able to get our calendars to align and make this happen for you today. So I'm so excited about it. And I know that this is not a friendly time for Europe. So thank you for our European friends who pointed that out, and we're hoping to attend. But don't worry, a lot of times, the recording actually works. So we're going for that. And then you'll be able to watch it later. Also, for those of you who are PMPs, we have an exciting topic here, because if you're like me and you also have to get education credits to keep your PMP, this is going to count for both ways of working and business acumen. So you'll be able to split it up as you see fit in whatever happens, because this is like live television here. You never know what's going to happen. We have a plan, but we are okay with deviating with the plan a little bit if we need to, for the fun conversation that I expect we will have tonight. So tonight here on the East Coast, morning in Asia. Hello, everybody. Wherever you are, please let us know. Let us know where you are, because that is a really fun thing here. You just never know where people are dialing in from. So let us know where you are. All right. Are you hearing us? Are you seeing us? Let us know. Okay. All right. Looks like it's working, which is always a question.
We got Houston in there. We got Houston here.
Right. And I have to mute my third piece. Okay, there we go. All right. Joining from Zambia at 3 a.m. in the morning, Billy. Okay, Billy gets the bonus brownie point prize. Thank you, Billy, for joining from Zambia at 3 a.m. in the morning. See, that's what you should tell the Europeans, Billy, is like, if I can join from Zambia at 3 a.m. in the morning, you can join too. I'm just kidding. So welcome to the club of Project Land people. If I love seeing where everybody is, so exciting. We got Houston. You hear us? Wonderful. Washington, D.C. Very cool. So we got some East Coasters on as well. I am joining from Florida today. Jammal, where are you joining us from?
I am joining from Maryland, so right outside of DC.
Maryland. Okay, great. Maryland. It's a Maryland. Awesome. So for those of you who might be wondering what this thing called Project Land is, don't worry. If you're new to Project Land, don't worry. We were all new to Project Land at one time. And we welcome all questions. Please put your questions in the chat. We will try to integrate the questions into our answers. And if we can't get there while we're going through it, we'll try to catch it at the end. So stay till the end to get your questions answered if we're not able to answer it right away. We are trying to monitor the chat. And so what is this thing called Project Land? I get asked that a lot. This is a word I made up. Yes, I did. I made up the word. I made up the word one day in training when I was looking at a group of wonderful, ambitious professionals who were made to go to my class. Don't you love when that happens? Like, you have to go to a class. So they came to my class because they were required to. And, and I said, look, I understand that you all are very experienced. They were. Every single one of them had been in that business for quite some time. But it was really the first time they were getting to know this wild world of projects, the roles, the rules, and all the crazy things that can happen. Sometimes we call those risks. And so I said, it's like we should call it something different to make it clear that there are different roles and rules, like Project Land. And it stuck. And I started to integrate that into a lot of the talks that I did, the classes that I teach, and it really stuck. And it started to help people understand that, you know what, projects are different. there are different roles, there are different rules. And and as soon as we can embrace that idea, the easier it is actually, because it's like, okay, what got me here, isn't going to get me there if we're in project land, because it's a different world. So I encourage you to think about how your world of projects might be very different. And then when you go to another organization, if you've moved around a bit or you go to a new organization, you might find that that world of projects is also different, right? Even if you're doing the same types of projects. So your project land might be very different than my project land, but it's still project land. There are different roles and rules in every organization, but projects do follow processes, all that kind of stuff. So when Jammal and I met, it was because, thanks be to a friend of ours, Crystal Richards, also in the DC area, when I said, hey, does anybody know a guru in product management that I can talk to? And she said, Jammal. And so Jammal and I had some great conversations, and that's kind of what led us to today, because we discovered that a lot of people are asking questions from the product management side about project management. How do project managers fit in the whole product management kind of world? And from project managers, what is that other P? What about product management? How does that fit in my world? So we thought, let's let the worlds collide and bring it all together here and have a conversation about product management in project land. So Jammal, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you. So Jammal is energetic. We always have a great time and a lot of laughs when we chat. He's also an entrepreneur. He's been a coach for over 20 years of experience, which means he started when he was about 3 years old. And he does things like defining product visions, 0 to 1 product strategies, which I'm sure some of us on the call, like me, had no idea what that was. So we want to learn more about what 0 to 1 product strategies means, Jammal, a little bit later. And he's also led projects with states and federal governments, along with healthcare organizations, really big ones, and to help them launch their flagship products. So definitely a guru in this space, and we are so lucky to have him. So thank you so much, Jammal, for joining. And I always like to ask, so I was an accidental project manager. I think a lot of folks were accidental project managers. If you were an accidental project manager too, and you're on this call, please give us a shout out for, yep, yes, me too, accidental project manager. So I always like to ask, so Jammal, how did you get into product management? Because it's like, if you were 3 when you started this, how did you even know about product management?
Yeah, no, thank you. So first off, thank you for having me. Thanks for doing this. I know we've been trying to do it for a while and finally got schedules aligned. So to answer your question, I started this about 20 years ago, honestly. Started out as a business analyst, and from there started working, doing some federal stuff, and that led to me going to school and going to B school, and you know everything started to align from that standpoint. There, we started transitioning and learning about agile, and once we did that, that was just the lights came on in B school, business school, let me say. A teacher, professor brought in a speaker, and they were from the West Coast, and they were saying, yes, I'm a product manager, and they're talking about things. And I'm listening, and I'm like, I do that. I do that. I do that. Oh, yeah, I do that too. And then they talked about their salary. And they said, well, I'm making about 375 a year. And I'm like, I don't make that.
Hey,
So
wow, big wake up call, huh?
big wake up call. And that's what I went on this hunt of, okay, what is a product manager? How do I get this title? And the organization I was with at that time did not have any idea what a product manager was. We have project managers. We have business analysts. I actually came in as a lead business manager, business analyst to actually transition and help us transition into an agile process. And so I went on this hunt, and I actually wrote my own business case to get the title.
Wow.
And And they were excited about everything until they saw the salary boost. That's when they were like, wait, we didn't know this was coming with that. But we negotiated it, it worked out, and I've officially had that title since then.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah, so that's fascinating. So everybody advocate for yourself, right? Figure out a way to advocate for yourself if you need to. That's a wonderful story. Wow. Wow. So maybe somebody on the call today will be like, wait, I do that. I do that. I do that. Maybe I'm a product manager. Maybe I should make more money. Who knows? Wonderful things can happen here in Project Land.
Most definitely. Hopefully somebody sees some similarities in this economy. We all could deserve a boost.
Amen. Yes, 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 yes. Wonderful. Okay, so I forgot to introduce myself because I was so excited about introducing you to Jammal. But so if you don't know me, my name is Dawn Mahan. I'm the founder and CEO of PMOtraining and all our divisions. We are growing and we're excited about it so that we can serve folks better. I was a Fortune 500 PMO leader. I've been awarded some awards for being a great consultant, I guess. I didn't even know those were real, and then it happened, so that was kind of funny. I invented Project Flow to help make sure that people can learn the PMI process in a really fun way. There are 49 processes in the traditional process in the 6th edition. The 6th edition is still alive and well, by the way, because the 7th edition references it. So definitely learn your 6th edition. But I like gamification, and that's what Project Flow is really based on, along with some design thinking elements and so forth. Definitely can embrace now the international speaker component of my title. I was actually, so this is funny how, Jammal, you learned from your B-School person. I went to a seminar and they were like, okay, well, you have to stand up and introduce yourself. So this beautiful woman, like 3 people before me, stands up very confidently, introduces herself and says, I'm an international speaker. And I'm like, wow, that's so. And then I'm thinking about it as the other two, like, what am I going to say about myself, to this group of people I don't know, and they don't know what project management is, a lot of them, right? And so I'm like, what am I going to say? And then I'm like, I'm an international speaker. Like, I've spoken in this country, and I was like, shoot, I didn't even know that. So the first thing I did was I thanked her. I was like, I just want to thank you for the new title I'm going to use everywhere, because I didn't even realize I had it. See, lots of things happen by accident in my life, I guess, and that was another one. Also, I have a Udemy course. We can drop a link in there with my special referral link if you want. If you're interested in that, it's called Smart Tips, Project Management and Agile, where you can learn in 5 minutes, little tips in 5 minutes. Lots of value in that course. And I'm author of the upcoming book, Meet the Players in Project Land, decide the right roles, and get people on board. So anyway, just a little bit about me in case you don't know me. We also, Jammal and I also welcome your LinkedIn connection. So please, if you got some value from tonight, please make sure that you link in with us. We appreciate that. And we like to get to know folks. That's why we're here. So with no further ado, we have a whole lot of fun stuff to cover. We have a lively discussion planned about product management in Project Land. So we're going to get right to it. So this was in your in the invitation, right? And part of the description of the event. So we are assuming that some of these questions you might have, these are the questions that are very popular, that our gurus get, that Jammal gets, that I get. And we hope to be able to take you through some of these and answer these questions and answer your questions too. So what I'd love to know is in the chat feature, if you have, what is, the top 1 or 2 burning questions that you have that you want to know about why you're here in the chat. And you can just put, 1, 5, whatever the numbers are that that resonate the most with you. So which are your top questions you are most interested in today? Really appreciate it. Okay. And we have I'm seeing now some other accidental project managers there. All right, cool. All right, good. Okay, great. All right, so first, What is product management?
Yeah, so let's jump into that. It is the process of really understanding um, the user, understanding what they're trying to solve, being empathetic to their needs and their problem, and then understanding the tech side of it as well. User stories, the writing the product requirement documents, coming up with wireframes, understanding the technology that's there. We could say similar to understanding AI, right? Everybody's in a AI arms race right now. So the ability to understand AI, you don't have to be a AI expert, but as a product manager, you want to understand it. You want to know what's the capability. What is a large language, and what is artificial intelligence? What are these technologies that's coming? What is natural language processing and things of the machine learning? What are those things? What do they mean? How do they interact with your product? How can it interact? Also, on the business side, understand the market. You're responsible for understanding the actual market. Who's your competitors? Where do you fit in the market? What's happening in the market? What's changing? Things like that. But the official definition is what you should have there on the screen for everybody to see. So this is what really product management is from that standpoint.
Yeah, so for those of you who might be just listening and not seeing the screen, it says an organizational function that guides every step of a product's life cycle from development to positioning and pricing by focusing on the product and its customers first and foremost. So that is a whole lot. That is a whole lot. And I love your picture here that shows, the intersection of UX, tech, and business. That little intersection of those Venn diagrams, if you will, is product management. So this is a very specialized area, and no wonder you should make more money if you can do all of these things, right? So I see some folks are voting for number 2 as the reason why they're here. So let's jump into it. When we talk about project management versus product management, first, my thought was, well, the definition of a product or of a project, see, I do it too. The definition of a project includes that it's temporary, so it's got to end, right? It's unique, first time in the history of the world anybody's doing this before. And 3 is it creates a product, service, or result. So I was like, okay, product is in the potential definition of a product. A project can produce a product. But there are a lot of other things that you were schooling me on, Jammal, around project versus product management. So take us through some of these key ones, because there are like many more that we would do in the real class, right? But some of these key ones that we really want to share today.
Yeah. So you hinted to it in that is really the scope and the life cycle. That's the number one. Understanding when it ends and understanding the difference between a project and a product, right? So for a project manager, when you come to a project, you have a scope. You understand the timeline of when it's going to end. Well, with a product manager, we started the ideation, the idea. What problem are we trying to solve? And then we have to launch it. Then we have to maintain it. And then based on what happens with the business, you may have to retire it. So that's where the major difference is. But then you get into some other pieces of it, which is the metrics of success. We all love metrics. I'm a big component and believer of, and love the Moneyball quote, in God we trust, everyone else needs data. So I love that quote. It makes a lot of sense. So when we talk about metrics and success, from a project manager, completing on time is a big thing. On budget, on scope, quality is a big thing. But for a product manager, we're monitoring not only the completion and release in the launch, but we're monitoring the market performance. Are we solving the problem? Are customers getting value? Did we meet the business objective? Did we meet the strategy that we were trying to? So we're looking at it more of a tangible thing in solving the problem. Are we adding value? Right. Our main focus as a product manager is, are we giving value to our user? That user could be an external user, so from a B2C, where I say business to consumer, meaning that's like LinkedIn, they're business to consumer, Facebook, business to consumer. But then you also have B2B, so it could be a business to business, Zoom, prime example. Are they meeting the value for that? Are they customers happy? So a product manager is worried about all of that. And then the other piece that I like to highlight is the risk management. So for a project manager, you're really worried about that scope creep. That is the naughty word. That is a four-letter word for project managers. Scope creep. I've seen a lot of a lot of folks stress over scope creep. Resource management, timeline, etc. Those are key things for product managers. Though is really about their market and customers changing because people change. People user behavior change. So we have to monitor that and we have to know what's happening. Prime example, as I mentioned earlier, AI. OpenAI dropped this public facing artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence isn't new. I think it's been around since 1950s, I think, or 40s or so. So it's not nothing new. It's just now that it's in consumers' hands and they can readily use it on a day-to-day basis. So what happens? They announce this available to just the regular consumer versus government and some other secret agencies, I like to say. Um, and everybody had to change. Users started to expect, I need access to AI, I need access to AI. So those type of changes are where risk comes into play.
Yeah, and one of the things I was thinking about, right, and we talked about actually a little bit when our prep was around like the iPhone, right? So I'm thinking, okay, the product manager, so as you were teaching me about this, the product manager really has to have that long-term view. And the project manager might be assigned for just, let's say, the iPhone 14, right? Well, I'm gonna help you launch the iPhone 14 and then I'm out. But the product manager needs to have the kind of the play the long game. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so that's definitely accurate in that sense. I'm glad you brought that back up because that's a great analogy of how it kind of works, where the project manager will sit there and say, "Okay, we're going to release. I'm going to be here to support you for iPhone 14," where the product manager is really starting to think about the entire life cycle. So, what's next? What is after the product iPhone 14? What is 15? What is 16, 17, and on, right? So we're thinking more about the overall product development life cycle, as they call it. It's the screen that you're showing there from the development, the introduction, growth, the maturity, and the decline of the actual product, right? How does that work? So based on us understanding what's going on long term, we actually need the project manager, and I'm going to throw this in there. We need a project manager to help us understand when we need to turn some things off. And that's important. So having a good relationship with your project manager really matters because it's a signal. If you get a note or email from a project manager saying, "Hey, my time is about to come up, getting ready to transition off," that's also a signal that, hey, something's ending. I need to double check what's going on. So.
Yeah, that's the part that I always struggle with new organizations that are sort of new to the idea of project management, because a lot of times we hear this word that I get crazy twitches when I hear the word ongoing. Like, I like to watch Law and Order, okay, where they have ongoing investigations and they cannot comment on an ongoing investigation, right? But that's the only time I like to hear the word ongoing. Otherwise, I want my project to end. Like, it needs to end. We're going to declare victory and call an end. But in the product management world, I guess, that's just another launch in your like long-term view of the products, the whole product's life cycle.
Yeah, it is. It's another launch. It could be a new feature. Continuing with the conversation around the iPhone, improving the camera. The phone didn't change. We all know they're still making phone calls. You can still text with it. You can still surf the internet. But hey, we just added 100x zoom. So that's the new feature. That's the new thing. That's a new launch. And that's what the product managers were, really focused on. What is the long-term impact? And how do we continue to give impact?
So I saw number 4 was pretty popular for folks in what they were hoping, to learn about. And I was really curious about this too, because I am so focused on, the beginning and then getting people through it and the end when I think about project management. How do you approach the ideation and planning and delivery stages of a project that's focused on creating a product? How do you think about it from the product manager point of view?
Yeah, so from a product management viewpoint, we start with that number one, the development. And in that, that is really understanding and researching the problem, right? So let's talk about the iPhone. What is the idea behind the iPhone? The idea behind the iPhone was multiple functionality, right? So think about it. You're a traveler. If you're a world traveler or if you've traveled somewhere, back in the day, and I hate to age myself, because you said I was 3 when I started, so I love that. Um, you had multiple devices. You had an actual camera, right? You had the music player, right? You Walkman or Discman. You had an MP3 player, even, depending on your age group. A book. You
Yeah,
had a
I
book at
had
the
the
time.
book. I definitely had the travel book. Yep.
You had the travel book, and then you also had a calendar, or to really age myself, a PDA.
Hmm.
So that's a personal digital assistant for those who don't know what a PDA is. Palm Pilots were a big thing.
A blast,
Um,
blast from the past, everybody. Blast from the past on that one. So yeah, so that was part of the idea, right? You got all these things, you're traveling, you want to have it all in one backpack, right? But it's a lot of stuff. So how do we put it all in one device? That's brilliant, right? And
yeah,
now everybody practically on earth has this thing in their pocket, including my dad. Like including my dad, he can, and he loves his music and he loves the text now. Not that you can always understand him. God bless my dad, right? But he's got big thumbs. I mean, what are you gonna do? You're like, well,
yeah,
we'll get there. Now there's
yeah,
voice to text, right? So he doesn't even have to thumb it anymore. So good.
yep. So
So
that's
the idea and the customer. So you said earlier about really understanding the customer need, and what you described was, yeah, if you're a traveler, that's a type of customer.
Yeah, that's definitely the type of customer that we're trying to solve a problem for. So the PMs for the iPhone was really thinking about that. And I want to throw in a little nugget in. Think about it, before the iPhone, there was the iPod, which was
Yes,
just the MP3 player,
I had
right?
one.
So everybody had one of those. So as the PM of the iPod, now we're talking about the final stages, the maturity, right? So iPods took off, high growth, high sales. Then all of a sudden sales started to slow down, and now we're starting to see a decline. So we're retiring the product. But at the same time, the PM for the iPhone is in the development phase. They're doing their customer research. They're trying to understand and solving this problem for the traveler. And so all of a sudden now you got this parallel downward/upward process happening at the same time between two PMs who actually got to work together in a
Yeah,
way.
yeah, and that's so fascinating too, because if when we work with PMOs, we're looking at the whole portfolio of projects. And so, you want to make sure that that's visible, that everybody knows, like, this is on purpose, that we're retiring this, and this is the project to retire it, right? And this is the project to launch the next thing, or whatever. So, so that everybody in the organization is rowing in the same direction. We got a question from Jerry Manis, a frequent flyer. Thank you, Jerry, for joining us once again. So any suggestions for raising more awareness of the product life cycle at every step in the project life cycle? Seems to me this is a frequent project gap. tightening that business connection. What do you think about that? Is that something that we could do a better job at as project and product managers working together on that, or is it baked in?
Yeah, yeah, I think we can. I think the big piece is understanding the timeline that's in front of us. Because every feature has a timeline of when you want to release it. So if the goal is to release a new camera feature by the third quarter, that's where project and product overlap. And that's where that working together comes into play because someone has to keep driving to the development team. Hey, we need to get this out by this time. We need to make sure that the appropriate resources are there. And when you get more senior in your product management life, you have this thing called P&L. You have a budget to manage. And so your project manager becomes your best friend and making sure that you're doing things with inside of the budget, and making sure that those releases are happening on time. So that's a big way to align the project and the product side together.
Nice, nice. So one thing that I'm always excited about, and a lot of our techie friends are excited about, is the tools. So the tools of the trade. So dad always says, picking on dad tonight, I guess, dad always says, use the right tool for the job. And here I pulled this picture of glass blowing because I was thinking about how, just like we talk about project management is an art and a science, it seems to me that product management is an art and a science too, and it can be pretty tricky. So what kind of tools do you like to help you with your job as a product manager?
Yeah, so I step back and I love you said it's the science, the art of the science. I 100% agree with you. Product is a science. I like to tell in my product training classes that I like to say that product management, everybody can do it to some degree. Everybody could do it. And here's why, because we all learned it. We learned it during middle school and high school. Because what product management really is a very sophisticated scientific method. You start with a hypothesis. Here's a problem. How can I solve it? Let me verify. Let me run some tests. Did I get the results that I want? Nope. Let me go back to the hypothesis. Let me retest. Did I get the results I wanted? Yes. So can you do product management? Yes. If you understand scientific method, that is the root, that is the foundational piece because it's all about decision making at the end of the day and keeping your emotions in check, right? From a tech standpoint, the tools I love, one is Figma. Love Figma. It's the prototyping, is for mock-ups. You could do a lot of wireframing. Definitely love that. I love Envision. They've kind of started to take over. Figma has taken over from the use of Envision just because Envision was there. You could make clickable prototypes. Now, Figma took that feature, going back to understanding the market and understanding as a product manager, right? Understanding what's going on. So you had a PMs at Figma, they're looking at Envision and they're like, haha, I figured out something that you don't do that we can master and put it to market, which is making a recordable prototype where you
Wow.
could legitimately record your entire app and how it's going to function and display it, which saves time when you look at development. Now I don't have to spend money developing an actual prototype. I can have an actual click through, ready, easily recordable process of my prototype, which I could share with folks. So that's what sped up the whole VC pitch world because now I could speed that up. I could do this. I could hit play, 2 minutes or less. I could show someone how this is going to work, how it's going to solve the problem. Another tool that I just 100% love is Miro. I probably need to become an ambassador for them because I'm always pitching Miro. It is a strategy board. It allows you to do everything. It's just a huge whiteboard that comes with a bunch of templates. You could do customer journey. You could do strategy. You could do mock-ups. You could do user workflows. You name it, you could do it. You can build your roadmap on it. So I love it for that. It's multifaceted. and allows me to do a lot of things. I share it with a lot of the companies I work with when I'm doing consulting work. I share it with folks that I'm teaching. I shared it with you, when we were talking and prepping. And then for a task, managing tasks, I love Trello. Of course, as project managers, you all love Microsoft Project or Microsoft Planner, as they call it now in 365. Product managers, we run from that. Just being honest.
So let me tell you something funny about that, right? So like the free version of Trello as a task board, I think is phenomenal, right? I mean, even the free version is phenomenal. And then Microsoft came out, I don't know exactly what the timing was, but at least for me in my life, I was using Trello on the side for my own stuff, right? For on the free version. And then I was started working with some clients who had the Microsoft 365 suite. And I was like, oh, what is this? Oh my gosh, it's a lot like Trello, only it's, inside Microsoft 365. And so a lot of folks, are starting to use that as a task board inside their organizations that have Microsoft 365, because you're going to add people to it, collaborate with it, and it's like post-it notes on steroids. You can have task lists in there. You can, in the old school days, we had the post-it notes on the wall, and that
Yep,
was
yep.
how we planned it. And I love that. But in the virtual world, it's like you can do the same thing pretty much. With these types of tools. So yeah, so I'm a big fan now of Microsoft Planner for task board type tools. Yeah, for those organizations that already have access, then nothing extra to buy there. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, so thanks for sharing some of your favorite. So this is like Oprah's favorite things. Like it's like Jammal's tools, right? I love that. So yeah, we all have sort of some of our favorites, and this is a question we get asked a lot. Of course, there are always the tools like Jira for Agile and stuff like that. So we weren't going to cover the ones that always get covered. We were going to cover something maybe a little bit different for you today. So next up, so I love the ocean. I am in Florida right now. So I had to get an ocean pick in there, but this one is really scary. And actually, when I was in about the 5th grade, I got bowled over by a wave and I thought I was going to drown. I couldn't find my way up or whatever. So it is really scary to me seeing this beautiful picture of this wave. And I think about, what are the risks in project management? We have, risk management. We talk about different ways to respond to risk and all of that. And so, we talked about earlier market and customer changes, how that, that can certainly be a big risk. Something new like AI comes and storms the place, and you got to figure out, all right, well, what are we going to do about this? But what else? What are some other big challenges and risks that we should talk about?
Yeah, as you got noted there, I would say definitely beware of being a dictator. Um, Product management is a decision by committee. And I know from a project standpoint, that is taboo.
Yeah, I
But
do not want to manage projects by committee ever. It's scary. It's like, will this thing ever get done? Because we're waiting on the decision. Yeah. So tell us more about what that means.
yeah, so what that means is, you're getting feedback. So you have these things that you create, these feedback loops. So you're learning more things about your product and does it give value, what things need to be done, what features are important to your customer. So then that's the committee. Your committee is the customer. But oh, by the way, your dev lead may say, hey, we have some technical debt that we need to manage as well. So now you're starting to get these inputs coming in from so many different ways, different places, and the risk then becomes, I'm going to do it my way.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the beware of dictator. My idea is the right idea, even though I'm getting signals from other places. So that's a big risk that you have to learn to manage. Now, I'm not saying don't go with your gut. Sometimes gut feelings is gut feelings. They're there for a reason, right? That intuition, you have to hold on to it and understand when to kind of throw that trump card out. But that's a big risk. Is again just going with your solution versus going with what your customers and your team is telling you is the really the right solution and being okay with it.
Mhm.
Then the other thing is managing those priorities. I don't know if there's not a day I don't talk to clients or talk to leadership and I'm reconfirming a priority. I'm like, hey, today I did it. In fact, working with a client, we were talking about their roadmap. And I was like, hey, is this what you want to have first in Q1 of 2024? And they were like, yeah, we want to do this and we want to do that. And I'm like, wait, that's not the same thing I was just talking about. Where did that come from?
Oh, this
And
is
so,
crazy, doesn't it? It's like, wait a minute, in my mind, this was the plan, right? And it's like, you like, wait, but didn't I asked you to go get the milk on the way home? Like that, you didn't remember that? It's like, wait, no, I didn't actually say that out loud. I just said that in here. Like, oops, my bad.
yeah,
Right? So how does it's crazy how this happens all the time, everywhere, where the communication you have to pay so close attention to the communication and like, wait a minute, that's not what I was saying.
yeah, you have to really be cautious about what you're saying when it comes down to communication. So as a PM, being a great communicator is very, 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 very important. I think every job description says excellent communicator, right? Verbal and nonverbal, written. I think the role as a PM takes that to reality, like to a whole nother level. Like
Yeah,
it's like journalism level
yeah.
because the way you have to evangelize for certain things and certain empathy and needs of a customer, if I describe it wrong, in somebody's head, it's just gonna bring that feature down. And so in their head, they're prioritizing things as I'm talking, and they're like, nope, based on that, nope, this is more important. This person put out a bigger check. Let's talk about B2B, right? So a lot of times it's the feature that a customer wants. And sometimes you get in a situation where it's who writes the biggest check. And so everybody feel like if I wrote the biggest check, what I want goes first.
Mm,
Well, how do you manage that? How do you manage that priority? How do you communicate to that particular client that, hey, your check is nice. We love it. Thank you. Appreciate you. But just because you wrote that check, you don't get to get your feature first. There's a line here, right? It's almost like the velvet rope at the club. Do I slide the bouncer? It's $50. It's
right.
still the
Well,
line.
and I mean the bouncer has to have the bigger picture in place, right? Like,
Exactly.
and that person that with the $50, right? They're like, they might not have, they don't know what the bigger picture is. They might not know that a bus of VIPs is coming, in about 30 seconds. So sorry, your $50 isn't going to do the job, right? And so I feel like, the role of a product manager is really pretty complicated when it comes to how do you make decisions around that. And so I'd imagine that, managing priorities, you have to come up with decision frameworks and some guidance, and yeah, become a huge, advocate for the things that really are the top priorities and be able to explain why, so that people, at least if they're reasonable business people, will understand why the decisions were made as they were.
Yeah, so you have a lot of frameworks, and I know that's one thing we're going to talk about pretty soon is just prioritization frameworks, which are really part of your decision making trees, right? So you have cost of delay, you have RICE, which is reach, impact. I forgot what the C was, just that quick. Oh man,
That's because you're on the hot seat.
because I'm on the hot seat, right? And then effort. I know E is effort. Forgot what C was. But then you have like Moscow. You had a Moscow method, WizGIF. There's so many different. I think there's about 30, maybe 40 different decision making frameworks or prioritization frameworks that you could use. But you got to learn them. You got to understand them. And the goal there is not sticking with one all the time, but really taking them and using them for that scenario, that organization or your organization that you work with, and figuring out how to come up with the best decision making framework for your organization, right? And so that's important. And it kind of goes into number seven, which is the pro skills. I did see a question come out from the chat regarding any roadmap best practices. I would say, and this is a skill, a pro tip, check your roadmap all the time. Measure your roadmap against your metrics. No roadmap should sit by itself without some kind of KPI or OKRs. Because how do you know you're going in the right direction? How do you know that you're giving value? So you want to make sure that you're measuring that success of each feature, each task that you're delivering. Everything that you're delivering should have some kind of metric to test the validity of it. That's one thing. Again, learning your frameworks, understanding the market, find and understand, find a blog, find a podcast, find a book, use AI. Keep up with technology and skills. Things are changing, forever changing. So always be building your skills. I think product management is one of the true roles or disciplines that where they say it's a life learning type role. Product management is that, because what end up happening is someone come out with a new framework that makes life easier, and you don't want to be late on that. You want to know how to do it because somewhere in there they had success with this framework for a reason, and you want to learn, hey, what did they do? How does it work? Can I apply it to what I'm doing? And if so, how do I apply it? Right? So those are the important things. And then meditate.
Yes. Yes.
Stay calm. Learn how to relieve your stress. One thing, I'm working with a founder right now, and she's in the introduction phase. Where introduction phase again is where you release, you're in the market, but you're learning about your product. You're learning more about that market, right? Outside of all of the research. And a lot of startups and founders, they get in this phase, or businesses, they either fail in this phase because they get afraid. They don't see the growth that they're looking for because everybody believes they want to be a unicorn and they want to just take off. Not realizing these unicorns have been around for 10 plus years and they just been silent, not really, out to the world. But then they get in this mode where they just want to throw things to the wall and see what sticks. And that's a very, very dangerous phase. So as a product manager, it's dangerous for us as well. It's actually one of the biggest traps because you start feeling the pressure of, I haven't succeeded. Yes, I'm giving some people value, but I'm stuck at 100 users. How do I get to 200? How do I get to 300 and on and on? So you start getting worried that you're going down the wrong path. Now realizing you may just need to tweak one thing. You may need to change how you're asking your questions, doing a customer interview to get feedback. You may need to change the questions because the secret is there. You just got to get to it. You got to become Sherlock Holmes. You got to become a good detective. Just figure it out.
Nice. And you need marketing money.
Yes. Marketing. That is your buddy. That is your best friend. That's your spouses from a product standpoint. You're going to argue with them, but you both got the same goal.
I love it. I love it. So your project manager and your product manager, they have to be partners too. And then, the marketing person, get ready for a wild relationship there, it sounds like, as well. Yeah. Awesome. So thank you so much for that. I know a lot of people were looking forward to the pro tips here at the end. So anything else from a Q&A standpoint that we might have missed, or any other final words of wisdom that you want to drop? I mean, if I wanted to start as a new product manager, right? What would you tell me I should think about first?
If you wanted to be a new product manager, why?
Why? I love it. Why would I want to do this to myself? Right? Exactly. Because it sounds hard.
Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to put this amount of stress in your life?
Right.
But it's a valid thing to say why. Why do you want to do this? Understand the why. Is it if you're chasing after money, be honest with yourself. Hey, I'm doing this so I can increase my income. But if for me, the why is because I love solving problems. I am an analytical brain. I love being empathetic to people and seeing the root and the heart of people. And so I love addressing their problems through technology. That is one thing that I love doing. So for me, I would say, really look at the why of why you want to do it. Are you sure you want to get into this level of stress? Um, because if not, you're gonna hate your job, you know. And it kind of goes back. We'll pick on dads for a second. My dad always said to me, "The perfect job is the job that you would do for free." And you got to come to that reality. That product, truly the love product, you got to be willing to do it for free. So I would say if you're a new product manager, one thing I would say is study, study, study again. Read the books. There's tons of books out there. Understand what you're getting yourself into, and talk to a lot of people about it.
Nice. Well, and folks got to hear from you. And I just want to give a shout out to Mr. Green, who said, Jammal inspired me to become more knowledgeable in my current field of work. One of the most knowledgeable product managers I've ever met. Hashtag true guru. Thank you, Mr. Green, for sharing that. And that is why, Jammal, you were on the show tonight. So thank you. Tonight here on the East Coast, evening, maybe on the West Coast in Hawaii, morning over there in Asia, and hopefully it's sleepy night time for the folks in Europe and they're catching the replay. But thank you everybody so much for joining. Jammal, as always, it's a pleasure and I learn every single time we talk. Thank you so much for joining us. And I just want to encourage everybody to definitely please, follow us, connect with us. And we also put out our handles for Instagram and for Twitter and Facebook here on the slide. So check us out over there. Follow us wherever is your favorite place. And please join our mailing list, PMOtraining.com/contact-us, which Ricardo, I believe, is going to drop in the chat for you to make it easy for you to join our mailing list. And the reason is because Jammal and I have plans. We have plans to do some more stuff together, and we'd love to invite you to that. So the best way to get invited is to get on the mailing list. That's all. Thank you so much for joining us, Jammal. Any final words of wisdom? Anything else you want to share?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, thank you again for putting this on. So happy that we got a chance to do this. As we said earlier, we've been looking forward to this. So, final words of wisdom, I would say is if you're trying to do this transition from project to product manager, be ready for the roller coaster, enjoy the ride, and just let go and be free.
Nice. Learn to surf. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day, and hope to see you again here in Project Land. Bye.
Bye-bye.